Good evening, everyone, and I will now call the meeting to order. Welcome to our November Planning Advisory Committee meeting. We appreciate your attendance. Without further ado, we'll get right into the agenda here, and I would ask if there are any disclosures of pecuniary interest regarding any of the applications. None noted. Thank you. Could I have an approval of the agenda as presented? Mr. Edison, Councillor McHugh, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And now I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of October the 17th and any comments or questions or errors or omissions detected. Move on to seconder, please. Councillor O'Neill. Mr. Forsyth, any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, the public meetings are conducted as prescribed by Section 3413 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended for one zoning bylaw amendment application affecting land in the Frankfurt Ward and one draft plan of condominium application affecting land in the Murray Ward. The meeting will be conducted in the following manner for each application. I will identify the application being considered, then I'll ask planning staff to outline the application being considered. Then ask if there are any members of the public who have registered in advance to attend and participate in the meeting, and if they have any questions or comments regarding each application. If there are no public comments or questions, I will ask the committee if they have any questions or comments. And once the committee have had their questions addressed, the committee will consider and vote on each application. If you wish to provide comments, please state your name and address for the record prior to addressing the committee. This committee has been delegated the responsibility to conduct public meetings as prescribed under the Planning Act. A full report of the meeting's proceedings will be submitted to City Council on Wednesday, December the 11th, 2024. Council will make the decision on each stated application. Anyone other than applicant who wishes to receive further notice of Council's decision on each application must submit a written request for notice of Council's decision to the Director of Planning and Development Services. I will now ask the Director of Planning and Development Services to please give the committee, advise the committee on how notice of these meetings were given.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Notice of the application has been considered this evening. We're given in keeping with the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended by first-class mail on November 1st, 2024, and posting of signs on the subject properties on the same date. Okay,
thank you very much. We'll now proceed with the first staff report, which is 7.1, 24-080PD, a zoning bylaw amendment application. The owner is Hilden Homes Limited. The agent is Eco Consulting Services Incorporated. The address is 82 Victoria Street. File number is D09/F32/24. Madison, would you like to comment on this application, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair. The purpose of this zoning bylaw amendment application is to rezone the subject property to permit a 3-story, 18-unit apartment dwelling with associated parking areas. This amendment proposes to rezone the property from the residential type 2 zone to the residential type 4 exception 14 zone to permit an apartment dwelling on the property with the following special provisions. A reduction in lot frontage from 25 meters to 22.4 meters, a reduction in the interior yard setback from 7.5 meters to 3 meters, an increase in the maximum building height from 11 meters to 12 meters, and a reduction in the number of parking spaces from 27 spaces to 26 spaces. The subject property is located in Planning District 3 of the Frankfurt Urban Service Area, which allows for low and medium density residential development. Based on the size of the property, the maximum density would be 23 units on the property. The applicant is proposing 18 units in the form of a 3-story apartment building and is therefore in compliance with the city's density requirements. In support of this application, the property owner has submitted the following materials: a concept plan, a planning justification report, a traffic impact brief, a servicing brief, and a geotechnical investigation. Planning staff have received one phone call from a neighboring property owner citing concerns over the density of the proposal, traffic, infrastructure capacity, and the natural environment. As previously stated, a traffic brief and servicing brief prepared by qualified professionals were submitted in support of this application. Should this application be approved, the next step would be site plan control, where the technical aspects of the proposal would be examined in depth. In terms of potential concerns over the natural environment, Lower Trent Conservation Authority was circulated and had no concerns or objections over the approval of this application. Overall, this application is consistent with the provincial policy statement and conforms to the City of Quinte West official plan. This application is therefore recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much, Madison. Do we have anyone in attendance other than the applicant who wishes to speak in favor? Do we have anyone in attendance who have general questions or opposition? Please come forward and state your name and address, please, and we'll try and answer any question. Please answer any of your concerns if you have some.
My name is Tina Kay, and I live at 64 Scott Avenue, so I'm not far from there. And I have some concerns and some questions.
Okay.
How soon will construction start?
Well, maybe planning can give us I know there's still, as Madison said, it has to have site plan approval, and it's in its early stages, so maybe you can give them a time frame if that's possible.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So this meeting tonight is just to determine if the zoning would go through so we could permit this type of land use on the property. Should this application be approved, then we would have to go to the site plan control process where engineered drawings are then submitted to the city and circulated. And then eventually, if they become approved, then they would be eligible to apply for their building permit. So there's not really kind of a timeline associated with site plan control. It's dependent on the quality of the submission and depending on the time in which they choose to apply for site plan control. So they could do it immediately, or they could choose to kind of wait on the property a little bit. So as of right now, they are several steps away from actual building, as they would need to get this approved, then site plan control, and then ultimately their building permit.
Maybe I'm a little premature, because I just have some questions about exactly how many units, and, well, I know how many units, but is there going to be like 2-bedroom units and that kind of thing? So maybe I'm a little early.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe the developer is on virtually if they would be better suited to answer those questions.
Okay. We do have some participants here. I believe Mr. Denowden is there, and Ashley Kennedy, and also Gladys Crowe. Would any of you folks like to address the committee or any of the questions maybe this lady has, Eric or whoever?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so the timing, I'm not sure, because as you just heard, there's quite a few steps to go through yet, so I would guess we're a few years away from actual construction of a building. I think I heard the next question was what size of apartments, and my goal is to have the majority of them as 2-bedroom apartments. The 6 on the ground floor would be walkout, and I would make a couple of those. I would plan to make a couple of those barrier-free, and I would plan to put an elevator in the building to accommodate a demographic that would like to live there, and it's within walking distance to towns. I see it as a nice building now.
Okay, do you have any other concerns you would like to address, ma'am?
I don't know if they're going to provide any appliances.
Did you hear that, Eric?
I did, and you know, I've done other rentals in Frankfurt, and I've always included appliances, so I could say yes to that now, but I don't want to be held to that.
Okay, okay. So is there a list I can put my name on at this?
Sounds like you got a future client here, maybe.
I have one other neighbor that's expressed interest as well. Unfortunately, I think it's a little premature, but you can contact the Hilton Homes office and we'll put John on.
Okay, that'll be fine. Okay. Is it going to be a seniors building?
As I alluded to one of the other neighbors, that is my intent, to keep it to that sort of a demographic, but you know, I have to be wide open, obviously, whoever.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I guess I'm a little premature on some of my questions, but thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your attendance. Is there any other participants here that are on the line that wish to ask any questions at this time? Please do so. Okay, hearing none. If there are no further questions, I guess we don't have anybody else in the audience. Well, I'll revert to the committee here. Committee, you have a recommendation, and as you've heard, it's approved to be accepted in its early stages, so I'll leave it to Councillor O'Neill.
I'd like to make the recommendation. I'd like to make the recommendation to improve.
Approve, okay, I have a seconder. Okay, Councillor O'Neill moves it, and Councillor McHugh seconds. Questions before we vote? Go ahead, Ms. Simmons.
Sorry, I can't see. I'm going to have to turn around here. I just wondered what the outdoor, I can't see it unfortunately, the outdoor amenity space was going to consist of, that's all. And the landscape barrier, what type of barrier were they planning to put in?
Okay, Eric, maybe you can answer that, those two questions.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I anticipate that the ground floor level would be walkout to grade. So the outdoor amenity space would be for each of those units to have a little outdoor patio, some outdoor living space. And the other question was to do with the landscape barrier. And no, we've not taken a very close look at that yet. And we would submit all that with our site plan to be more detailed on that.
The other question I have is the privacy fence at the back. Is there a minimum height that you propose?
Well, staff, I think, can answer that. Eric probably can too, yes.
Yeah, through Mr. Chair, yeah, so the city's bylaw does have a maximum height limitation, so 6 foot would be the maximum height limit.
Okay, all questions? Any other questions? Councillor Kern?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to Mr. Denoud. And I apologize if this was already stated in the report, but are they intended to be rental only, or do you intend to sell the units?
My intent at this point is not to condominiumize it, but to keep them as a rental property, that all 18 units would be one owner and that they would be put on the rental market.
Okay, thank you for that. Yes, I'm certainly in support. I think this is more of the missing middle housing, gentle densification of the urban area, perfect for seniors looking to downsize. So many baby boomers will be looking to do that over the next generation or next few years, and I think this is a great project. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, it's been regularly moved and seconded. We approve the recommendation. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll now move on to 7.2. Item 7.2, Staff Report 24-081 PD. Draft plan of condominium application. The owner's Clemencex Homes Incorporated. Location 20 Hillside Meadow Drive. And the file number is D07/M05/24. Ashley, would you like to comment on this application, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair. The purpose of this application is to obtain draft plan approval for the recently constructed 34-unit apartment building at the above-mentioned address. This development was constructed under site plan control approval, and this application serves as a condominium conversion. The condominium development is serviced by municipal water and sewer services. The subject property is part of a rectangular Block 68 registered as part of the Hillside Meadows Plan of Subdivision. Block 68 will ultimately accommodate 92 condominium apartments located within 3 separate 3-story buildings fronting onto Hillside Meadows Drive. The Phase 2 building is nearing completion, providing 34 apartments over 3 stories. The site is subject to the second application for condominium conversion. At this point in the condominium approvals process, the applicant wishes to convert the 34 residential units from single ownership into condominiums that can be offered for individual sale. Overall, the application meets the general intent of the provincial policy statement, the city's official plan, and maintains the general intent of the zoning bylaw. This application is recommended for approval, subject to the following condition, which is the owner shall enter into a site plan control agreement with the municipality to ensure, amongst other requirements, that the subject lands are developed and all buildings are constructed in accordance with applicable bylaws and municipal approvals.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have anyone in attendance who wishes to address this application in favor? Anyone with general questions or opposition? Seeing none, I would ask the committee to consider the recommendation, which is to approve, and we'll entertain a motion on any questions. Mr. Edison moves it. J.D. Brown seconds it. Any further questions or comments? Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through to you to Director Jardine. Is each apartment going to be a separate condominium unit, corporation, or are they all going to be consolidated?
Through Mr. Chair, there'll be separate individual condominium corporations. There will be some overlap there when you get this type of situation. We have other developments, condominium developments, where they happen in phases. So there'll be different condominium corporations, but there will be some overlaps in the condominium agreements where they kind of intersect around parking and open space.
Snow plowing.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other further questions? Hearing none, all in favor of recommendation to approve? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, your comments regarding the applications and staff reports have been recorded and will be forwarded to the members of council together with the minutes of this meeting. Council will make a decision to approve or refuse each stated application at the regularly scheduled council meeting of Wednesday, December the 11th, 2024. Now we're into public input. Anybody for public input? Okay, seeing none. No presentations, no delegations, no decision items, and we just are right down to printed information, 12.1, and we have A, B, and of Building Department report, zoning bylaw, and committee minutes. And I would entertain a motion to receive all those, and are any questions? Councilor McHugh moves. Second. Mayor Harrison second. Any questions regarding any of those minutes or statistics, I guess it's there too, of some of the work that's been going on by the planning department and building department. Okay, Councilor Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to staff. For the building department year-to-date numbers, there's quite a few at about $17 million. I just wondered what those are. Are those like big apartment buildings or hotels, or on 141 Appledene Drive, 125 Appledene Drive, 165?
Yeah, through Mr. Chair, those are the three separate apartment buildings, part of the Skyline development, which is at the north end of Appledene, so just east of the top end of Second Dog Hill Road, just south of Highway 2. So they've been through the permit process over the last year. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, Mayor Harrison?
Yeah, I just wonder if you can give us any update on the building that's in process just by the liquor store on Front Street. That is quite a building. It's quite a, wow.
Sure, through you, Mr. Chair. So that property went through a recent site plan for a standalone takeout restaurant and some retail in a plaza setting. They're working through their building permit. They've got their site plan approval, so now they're into their building stage.
It's quite a facility. It really is. At least every day I go by, it seems to grow, and that's what it should do, so thank you.
And in that same regard, I guess the one on the west end over by Hillcrest Animal Hospital, there's quite a steel framework up there. I'm sure it's moving along good too, so, yeah. Progress is good. Okay, any other questions regarding those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And we have no non-printed requests for information. Mr. Edison? No? Councilor Carter? Thank you. There, oh, getting an easy JD and Ms. Simmons.
I just have a
Yep.
I have a question, and it was related to the others. So what's the significance of having a condominium as opposed to an individual ownership?
Staff, you want to explain the?
To you, Mr. Chair, so obviously the big difference is obviously you can, particularly in this form, so when you get an apartment style building, in a condominium, you can sell the individual properties. So it's a model of freehold ownership. So in the case of an apartment style building, the purchaser buys their unit, but then pays a fee obviously for shared uses such as hallways, elevators, etc., parking, open space, versus a rental which obviously stays in one single ownership and you pay rent accordingly, but the ownership doesn't change. So
I was just curious if, is there not one parent condominium, or are you going to be dealing with different condominiums within the structure?
In a situation like this, you would have one corporation that covers one building, and from the municipality standpoint, it seems like quite a complicated structure, but it's actually quite simple, because as soon as the condominium corporation takes ownership, it's still a private site. So the city doesn't, it's unlike a subdivision where the city takes responsibility and ownership eventually for all of the roads and the services and the infrastructure. In a condominium, that stays within the ownership, but rather than being owned by one person, it's owned by everybody that has a condominium.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Neal.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, I own a condominium unit, and the thing is, you just buy your shell. There's common ownership in the parking, there's common ownership in, as Director Jardine said, the different spots, but there's a board, you have to follow rules, you have to abide by the rules and everything else, so.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, you have any?
Listen, I abide by the rules all the time.
Oh, we know that. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for their long patience and perseverance tonight. I hope I didn't keep you too long, and we'll get out of here before midnight, that's for sure. So
we might make the bridge closing.
Well, it's done yesterday, the 21st, wasn't it? I think that's what the sign said. Or I know I had a detour last night after council. You probably did too. So did you? Anyway, thank you, everyone. Thank you, staff. I know our engineering folks there. We didn't pry into their expertise tonight, but stay tuned. It may be needed at various times. So thank you, everyone. Other than that, now I will entertain a motion to adjourn, Councillor. Mr. Edison and Councillor Card. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Carried.